All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing some more Stormworks Build and Rescue. Let's just go over this. So I created a mineral sub. It's small. I'm hoping it fits. I'm hoping it's not too bulky. All right, the next vessel we're going to build after this is going to be It's going to be a full-size sub, which we're going to turn into a refinery so we can get oil. Yeah, a couple of things. You got to watch the silent building videos where I haven't provided a lot of commentary. Um, yeah, I will on the next one when I build the bigger one. But there will be more room, hopefully, to explain some of these, some more of these intricate systems. But what I did notice, I'm just going to change these here. You do want the gas filters. You do want the gas filters here, just in case. I was doing a couple of test runs, and I accidentally left the fill valve open on these, and I started sucking seawater into the tanks. So I do know they work. The last thing I wanted to do was put in a monitor here. And this is going to be... I don't know which way it goes. We need 4 inputs here. I'll put this down here somewhere. That's just going to be our tank statistics. So if I put it there, we can, let's see here. Let's change that. And then we need 2 more numbers. And this can be air A, air B, and then exhaust B. All right, then we'll go inside here. Actually, they're overlapping these nodes. And then we just go into our Lua script. Excuse me. Woo. I guess I could be lazy. B and C. Oh no, let's go. Air A, air B, then A. And then I'll need to put out another video. Somebody was asking me about a couple of Roblox questions, so I'll be putting out a Roblox video today as well. All right, so we've got that. Copy. We need 2 of those, and we need 2 of these here. Let's see, that could be 15, and that could be about 23, I guess. 15. Oops, 23. It should give us enough room. All right, and then this is air A, and this is air B, and this is EXA, and EXB, and this should go A, air B, EXP. All right. And then we want 4 channels. script is edited, so we can update that. We'll just plug in the... Make sure we're still secure. All right. Just plug in the tanks here. So we've got tank pressure and we have tank content. So I'm just going to try the tank content. This is the last of all the things that needed to be hooked up. This was very complicated. And then I went ahead and I actually had to widen the whole sub by about 4 squares. So I was able to add, or not add, but there's additional room down here. So I had to make the ballast tanks a little bit bigger. And yeah, I mean, I could have edited this to add in the additional tanks. But what I did was I created just this little room here with a door to go outside. So basically how this is going to have to work is you'll have to flood the room and then you'll have to exit out. And then when you come back into the sub, you'll have to flood the room to come back into the sub. Or just leave the door open, whatever. And that way there's no difference of pressure, which is going to force us away from the submarine. I don't want to use this main door here because this chamber, it has, in case there's a little bit of water that gets in because it's on the surface. But it takes so forever for these chambers to drain that, yeah, I'm just still beside myself with all that. And I'm just kind of, yeah, don't really want to tackle the bigger stuff just because of those reasons. It's going to happen eventually. I'm going to have to tackle the big stuff, the bigger tanks. But yeah, even with these ballast tanks, they still take forever to fill. Forever to fill, forever to drain. Since they changed the mechanics of it, it takes a lot more. I'll have to double up these pumps to get it to exhaust. Anyways, yeah, let's test that out. Let's see if that's going to work. And I will depart. Now, I'm at Donkk Island. Just so people see it in case it looks differently. Donkk Island was the closest I can get there with just over half a tank of fuel. Maybe a little bit more from here. Whereas I don't quite have the same. All right, so that's our capacity. That's our air capacity. So then what I want to do is let's just put it into underwater mode. And let's just turn this on to... Because I've never actually seen the tanks fill up. Like I know they work. Oh yeah, see the exhaust tanks are filling up slowly. So I'm assuming once they get to this capacity, that'll be it. And that's kind of how we'll know. Excuse me, I just blow my nose. That's how we'll know when I need to surface, right? This tells us how long we can stay underwater for. I knew it was an incredibly long time. It seems like it'll be a fairly decent amount of time. So let's just get this back out of the water. Then we'll spawn it, and then we'll depart. Yeah, there's a big storm that's coming in. So what I did last time is I ended up having to go underwater. Just, submarine, why not? But I didn't have this here. Surface mode. Let's put this to 3. Yeah, I didn't have that there. Meaning, I didn't know how long I could stay underwater for. see if we can turn. I don't know if we can actually turn out of here without getting caught. Oh, can we do it without getting caught? No. Oh, come on, camera. Come on, camera. Is it this one? Is that right? Really? Am I just caught in there? This is not going well. I appear to be caught. The dock has caught me. And I have to, yeah. The dock has caught me. So funny. All right, well, let's see if this is the right way. Oh, we'll go to 6. 6 is kind of our cruising speed. Yeah, that's the right way. And then what I did was I set this up a surface trim. Which I can use underwater, so I can just trim. Oh, let's put it in surface mode. Yeah, so I don't have to constantly be going up and down, up and down, up and down. With the, that might be a little bit aggressive here. Let's put it at 20. Yeah, and then it just cruises. And I was testing it out in the water, and it actually goes pretty straight underwater too. So what I have is I have a seabed, which is our depth, and then I have an altimeter, which tells us where the sea height is, the height of the sea. So when we go down, we can use that to navigate, just to help us navigate under the water. Because as you can see, windows, for whatever reason, windows are useless underwater. They don't work properly. Or they just, you can't, they don't work. They work, but they don't give you a clear vision. So yeah, this is the sub. Almost like a crab almost, right? So hopefully it fits. Hopefully it's not too wide. It's got magnets on the bottom. Yeah, then it has these arms. These arms, they just go up and down. They're controlled by the front here. This front area controls the anchors. Yeah, so that's that. So we should be able to get nuclear power. Now I've been testing this thing around the tsunamis. Yeah, it's questionable. I was anchored. I had the magnets on the floor, on the ocean floor. If you're in shallow water like this here now, and you're sitting on the ocean floor with this sub, and a tsunami rolls in, it'll just kick the sub wherever it needs to go. The magnets are totally useless. So I'm hoping we'll be safe inside the cave. Yeah, really easy to pilot, really easy to, right? As you can see, it just trims all on its own. I like it. So yeah, the waves get to the point where they crash over top of the submarine. At some point here, they get pretty big. So the submarine does good at cutting through the water. It's when you stop. When you stop, you really start to get thrashed around by the when you're on the surface, right? So yeah, I don't know how long this trip will take. But what I'll do is I'll upload another video. I think it's a TV. Yeah, I'll upload another video when we're in position and ready to dive. Yeah, so I made it wider. Right, this here controls. It's got. You can see the two cranes. We need a few more buttons so I can zoom in and out on the cameras and switch the camera mode. Oh, that's the heater. And then our toggle button. So the thing about heat that they changed, heat only heats up a chamber. So if I turn this heater on, only this heater heats up. Whereas in the past, the heaters were area of effect. So they would heat a 10-meter ball around the heater. And that's why when I was testing the engine, as you saw in the earlier videos, I was down in the engine room and I had a heater with me and it was causing the engines to explode. So essentially what you have to do now when you build your build, the engine room can't be heated. It doesn't really make any sense because you'll still freeze to death in there. But if you provide any heat in the engine room, it'll cause the engines to explode. So yeah, I find that I know somebody was saying that the amount of radiators I have is probably not efficient. And I was saying that when you first spawn in the vehicle and you turn the engines on, they'll accelerate to the point where they just explode. They haven't fixed that. So to prevent that, I had to put in 12 radiators per engine, and then it lets it heat up to about 112 degrees, and then it's stable. Then the coolant will come in and start to cool it down. Doesn't really cool it down by a whole lot when you consider if I run this engine at like 8, I don't know what our maximum is. Let's see if 8, what that does for our RPS here. Yeah, see, we're at 18 RPS, so we can do 8. But you see the temperature? And this will probably sit around 100 degrees, maybe higher, which in the past, before they made these changes, you could run these engines full out at 30 to 40 degrees. So there's been a huge change in the relative heat of the engines. And like I say, I haven't gone to a temperate area of the map. I'm still in the Arctic. So my big question is if I go to a warm area of the map, how is the ambient temperature going to affect the engine, right? So right now we're at 100 degrees. In my opinion, we'd be at the critical level. 15 more degrees and the engines will just explode, which they shouldn't do, right? So, but we're going to test that right now and see how hot they get. So I know they're trying and I know they're doing all these things, and they're saying that in order for space to work, the current system has to work in order for space to work, the way heat transfers and stuff. But what are we supposed to do about these engines? Is my big question, right? Are they gonna, looks like now we're at 103. So that's the further testing. I'll have to get the industrial DLC here and see that, because the map, like I'll show you here where. Actually, I might even be able to test it out down here. See where the maps get warmer? We're way up here in the cold, in the ice cold, the Arctic. And down here it's really warm. So I'll have to see what changes that, right? So we're at 103 on the engine. But if I get down here, what sort of effects is that going to have, right? And maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, then that's cool. That would be really cool. They were burning a lot more fuel now, too. That would be really cool. Our speed is 10. So yeah, the submarine's pretty good. It's pretty fast. It's got lots of power. Just questions about the engine, which we'll answer here in the future. And yeah, it trims really nice. Sits in the water really nice. I had a lot of fun building it. Not much. Once you've built the touchscreens and you built the microprocessors and you have all that technology, it gets easier to build the other builds and to throw the screens in that. When you do your first build and you have to build these from scratch, it can just take a little while to wrap your head around. There's a lot to it, right? So, and we don't sit on an angle down in the water. We sit flat. It's just the way the waves are hitting the sub. I'm sure you see now we're rolling the other way. But yeah, it's pretty fast. I like it. Sinks. Now this one we shouldn't have an issue. Shouldn't have an issue with the uranium. The other thing too is not, we shouldn't have an issue with the uranium getting it and storing it, and we shouldn't have an issue trying to enter and exit the sub. Right? Remember we were contaminating the water. So if I flood this little chamber before I open the door, I won't contaminate the water with the gases from inside the room. It seems kind of silly, but that's the way it is now. Right? You have to balance that. So if we were in space, let's say this was our spaceship, which will be pretty similar to our spaceship probably. You would have to balance that, right? You'd have to open the door, let the air out into space, close the door, go into the room again. So the air chamber would be different, right? Than the air inside the sub. So yeah, so we'll have to test that out when we're down there and we're mining. We'll have to come out this door. See how that's going to work. Yeah. Yeah, these large chambers hold 400 minerals apiece. I tried to get more on there, but the sub just sank to the bottom. Right? This is where we get to the point where, there's only so much that can be done, right? Oh, I better slow this down. I'm going to run out of fuel here. We'll do 6. I've already burnt through 1,000 liters, and we're almost halfway there. We'll use the speed on the way back. I don't know how much I'm going to need while I'm down there. Yeah, so we're pretty much, with all my builds, we're pretty much at our maximum displacement for this. This one, if I add any more to it, it'll slowly start to go below the water. So what I'll have to do is I'd have to make it longer and wider if I want to add more weight to it. So we're going to do that on the next one. The next one will make it longer and wider, so we can add a lot more. We'll have to double up the engines and all that stuff, right? The electronics are sound. Has a fairly decent capacity. I guess we'll be able to test that out a bit more. We slow right down. We slow down to 6.7, which is all right. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. I tried to put up some other content there, and that's probably what I'll do this week. It won't be a full Stormworks week. Try and put up different content on different days, just to try and diversify the channel a little bit. Yeah, and if you enjoy it, thanks. Oh, there's a huge wave coming. We'll wait for that. If you enjoy it, thanks. I really appreciate it. And we're just going to keep going. Like I say, we're going to keep going and discovering the changes that they've made in Stormworks, and just seeing how all that works. We finally got the confirmation from the developers that the changes they made are permanent and they're not going to be changing them, so we have to figure out a way finally to adapt. As I said, my biggest pet peeve was that, okay, so it took 20 hours or so to make the submarine, right? And if you do this, and then they would, during development, and in that 20 hours, they would put out a patch that would sort of change the statistics of things. That's where I was getting frustrated, right? is it was hard to keep up to the changes that they were implementing. When I started, they had just released the oil. I think oil had been there for a long time, actually. But they just updated it. And then they updated the economy. And then they added in, and this is in a short span of time, right? First month. So you get your ship, you're ready, you calculate your distances and everything, and fuel costs and everything else. And then they changed the fuel costs. So then they introduced the, well, I'm going to have to get rid of that there, just so I don't suck in water into the engines. It's funny that it goes down. Yeah, then they introduced that. And what else did they introduce after that? We got the space DLC. Which changed buoyancy and right, and I'm still getting these stupid errors that keep coming up. I call them stupid errors. I don't have the space DLC, so my assumption is that it's trying to load missions that are in space, probably rescue missions. Which was the same when they introduced the oil updates. They broke the game and I had to restart. I didn't want to restart. So the thing about the differences here is that Classic Career, when you start the game in Classic Career, when you start the game in Career mode, the entire game is predetermined. All the variables are preset. And you can't change them. It's not like in Creative mode where you can say infinite energy, infinite electricity, you know, and you can change the variables and it doesn't matter if you reset up your game. Career mode, you can't do that. So when they patch the game, and they bring in these updates, sometimes they'll conflict with the existing preset game, right? So that can happen too. So just be careful of that sometimes when you're trying not to get too, you know, too into it. Or too frustrated when things don't work out. Because that's going to happen. Yeah, so that's the basic word of advice for Stormworks there. It's going to make you grumpy sometimes. That's what video games do. But now it seems like most of the major changes are in the game. And now they're just going to be working on, hopefully, bug fixes and minor improvements. From now on, they're not going to be changing the gameplay too much more. So what that means is we can carry on. We can start making these big builds again, and they're not going to, halfway through the build, the game isn't going to change and make it not playable. Yeah. So thanks for watching. And like I say, I'll provide another update when I'm at the cave and we're ready to make the descent. I'm confident in this design. I'm confident it'll work. Like I say, we don't have to leave the sub for any reason, so we shouldn't have to contaminate the sea for any reason. Fingers crossed. Yeah, you see what I was talking about? So because we're a sub and we're low in the water, these waves are going to get so big, they'll start crashing over the sub. And I won't be able to to drive. That's the only way I can describe it. I won't be able to stay above on the water, see? Because we're a sub, right? And we're supposed to sink, so when the waves come in, we'll actually start to sink down below the sea. If we were in a ship right now, we'd be rocking and rolling. Yeah, the other thing I could do is just stop. We could wait out the storm. And I mean, I could continue on, right? I could just continue on. But I don't want to do that. Yeah. All right. So we'll end this one here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing, and thanks for commenting too. I really enjoy the conversations. If you have any questions, just leave a comment, and we'll try to answer them as best we can. Thank you so very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.